So when I was a kid, my father said something that was really pretty cool. He said, "There's nothing more dangerous than someone with a little bit of knowledge."
That's unexpected. I must say, you fight well. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Good afternoon, this is Lynx, and for those of you who have been subscribing for a while, you guys know that I've changed it up on this station for the last couple of months, and people have responded very strongly. The subscriptions have gone up. We've gotten a lot more people, even more people writing me, asking me questions and things. And in the beginning that I basically started this to show people how to use divination, how to use the tool, how to read playing cards, how to read crystal ball, how to read tarot, how to read Lenormand. All of these things that I've spent the last 20 years of my life exploring and experimenting with and playing with and learning the ins and outs of in very interesting and unusual ways. And it's afforded me the opportunity to live a rather unusual life, one that I think people don't normally get to live, the kind of life that I've lived. And there were some situations in my life that they weren't so great. But I was lucky enough to find myself in some very unusual places and meet some very unusual people, which I'm very grateful for. But one of the things that people have been asking me for a while in this was to reveal things about the path that I'm on, and that is the Tibetan Bond path. This is just reading cards. This is just psychism. That's just a skill in itself. It is not my spiritual practice. I want to make that clear, and I think over the last few weeks I've kind of been making that clear. And then I've announced from my master, who told me that he's building a temple here in Northern California, and then I've been announcing that he's having a retreat here in Northern California. I've been getting the word out, trying to help, because to be honest, I personally got to a point in my practice where I thought, wow, if people could have this kind of success, what a beautiful world we really could see happening. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it and why I've been sharing this stuff about it. I kept it very private and very protected for a very long time. I did not want to put it on this station because I know how critical people can be, especially growing up in Illinois. When I went down this path, people were horrible to me. They were, you're the devil, you're this. Family members were horrible about it, and people I met were obnoxious about it. And I can't believe some of the things that people think that they can get away with because you live an unusual life, or you have a different perspective, or you have a different skill that they don't value. And I would think, well, do you walk up to people who can fix cars, or who can who are chiropractors? You say the same kinds of things to them because they can do something that you can't, or do you spit on them and say, oh, that's not real, metaphorically spit on them. I don't, so I know how weird people can get, and when I started down this Tibetan Bond path 12 years ago, people were like, "Oh my God, why are you doing that? Oh my God, that's so crazy. Oh my God, it's." And so again, I've learned over the years that personally over the years, I've learned in my life that if people don't value something and you find the value in it, do it, develop it, enjoy it, and later they're going to come to you begging for what you learned. Every single time, that's what I've learned. But now that I've been revealing this stuff, and I've sharing His Holiness's, his flyers and stuff like that, I've actually had some people start to criticize me for doing this and saying, well, it's wrong for him to charge this retreat, that he has to be a sham. And it's like, well, really, the money's actually going to build a temple, and if you have a better way to figure out how to pay California for the land, then I'm all ears. If you have some land in California you'd like to give us, I think that's, that you'd like to give His Holiness, not me. It's holy, His Holiness, But as a student, I know that I and other students will benefit from the temple, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited, because having a space like that allows those of us who are students, anyone who becomes a student, to benefit. And then today, my partner and I actually had someone start to quote Alan Watts at us, and to criticize the idea of temples and having a lineage and studying under a master, which is why I've been, playing around with these memes lately that, people who have not been down the road, like this stuff with the tarot. It's like I've been down the road and I've made every mistake there is, so I go back and I say, hey guys, I'm going to show you how to do this, and this is, if you do this, this may happen. If you do this, you're likely to get this result, right? But I got people who have never been down the road that I'm trying to get down, the road that is my goals, who have suddenly decided that they're going to start criticizing this way. And she used an Alan Watts quote, and she said, you should realize this. It's very profound. It's from Alan Watts. And I thought, what a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. And this is going back to what the quote that my father gave me, a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. Alan Watts was an Episcopal priest. That's, first of all, he was an Episcopal priest. He did study with a Zen master, and he went through Zen training, and he went through seminary. He was part of temples, churches, and spiritual practices his entire life, which is where he got the wisdom that this particular woman was benefiting from now. And what I find interesting was that she chose to take the fruits of all his labor and all his commitment and try to use it to criticize the very path, or the kind of path, that actually gave Alan Watts the success in the fruit to begin with. And this is where my father's quote, a little bit of knowledge is extremely dangerous, I think comes in beautifully. It seems to me that there are people who always got something to say about whatever path you're on, and you start to succeed and they don't really care. They've read a little bit of here, read a little bit there, read a little bit there. And this is really, for those of you who have that Carolyn Myss archetype deck, I think that's how you say her name, MYSS. She has a really good a card in there called the Seeker. I think it's either the Seeker or the Student, or some combination of the both. The idea is this, that they take a little bit here and they take a little bit there, but they don't actually commit. And so they jump around, and so nothing ever takes root, and they don't ever get the fruit of anything. They don't really ever get success, because they're taking this and this and this, because they won't go through the hard, difficult commitment that it takes on a path to actually get past something, grow past it, and gain a new level, because it takes too much commitment. It's much easier to quote from a book and lecture people, you see, rather than actually doing the experience and actually having the experience. And I know from what I speak, because that was how I learned the tarot. I will admit that I learned it on my own, and I learned it by going through and experimenting and seeing what worked and seeing what didn't work, and staying committed every single day to understanding and learning what these archetypes meant, and reading the ancient stories and the fairy tales and the fables that were the patterns from which this stuff was drawn. Being able then to share that to people and say, hey, look at it this way, and it will help you to get, and then they could play and experiment, and they could go further than I did, because I'd help them get through the part where they had to stumble and trip and do all that stuff. That's what it's like to have a master. That's what it's like to have a real spiritual path. Now, I know that some people have had bad experiences with things, and that's great, and I understand that. I have as well. Churches growing up, I wanted nothing to do with them. But there was a point in my life where I realized there were certain things that I couldn't get past because they were blind spots, and I needed someone to help me get past those blind spots, and that's when I found my master. So I am now opening up and sharing stuff that people ask me to share, and I'm not going to tolerate people criticizing the way that I went about it. What I really don't like is people who tell me, I love your channel, I love what I get off of it, and I'm going to take that wisdom that you got, but I'm criticizing the fact that you're part of this group. So someone actually said this to me, that, the fact that His Holiness is charging for the retreat means that he's a scam. It's like, well, guess what, buddy? I learned what I learned how to be able to do, and the stuff that I can train people with, because of the path that he brought me through and taught me to. Because for one thing, I didn't want to share this with anyone. I was too tired of people's criticism to ever want to share this stuff and what I'd learned with anyone. And he was the one who not only encouraged me to do that, but taught me how to reach people in a way that would touch their hearts and their minds, and use methods that would actually open them up and give them the benefit of what I'd learned, rather than me just not wanting to share with people because I was tired of people or whatever, and I was tired of criticism, and to approach them in an angry or belligerent way. Which, by the way, is what a lot of people who know how to do this stuff out there are experiencing themselves. They face so much criticism in their life, they face so much derision, so much opposition from other people, that they get so angry that they end up disliking people, and they end up not being able to share the wisdom or the fruits of what they got. So, no thanks to your criticism. No thanks to your quotes here and your quotes there, because you read that book and you read that book and you read that book. I guarantee you, I guarantee you, the amount of material that I read in my English degrees, in my philosophy classes, in the stuff that I was constantly studying, and all the religions that I was constantly reading, I guarantee you, I outread you at some point. So don't come to me with one little quote and tell me, well, this is wisdom and you should open up to it. It's like, yeah, I know who that is. I know what their history is. And I know why that only works to a certain point. And I also know why this particular path didn't fit with the goals that I had. So what I encourage people to do is to find something where you actually have to set roots and you actually have to dig deeper so that you can get beyond the superficial. Because what's going on out there is people are clinging to the superficial. Oh, this sounds great. And if I repeat it, I sound like a master myself. I know that sounds harsh, but it really is what's going on these days. People read a little here, read a little there, now they're a master. And then someone comes to them and they've got a real problem. What do you do? What do you do with them now? You throw them back on themselves? You tell them, oh, well, go to a psychiatrist and get drugged? Oh, go to the doctors and get drugged? Or do you actually have something that can actually move them past and gain a deeper understanding? I'm Lucky Links, as always, wishing you success and good fortune in all that you do. If you'd like to take a tarot class with me or a playing card class with me, I've got a playing card class. I've got an intermediate and a basic tarot class. The basic tarot class is coming up in like a week or so. And I've got, what else do I got? I got a crystal ball class, Mexican lottery class, 2 Lenormand classes, one that's basic, one that's Grand Tableau. I think I said that already, didn't I? One beginning tarot, one advanced intermediate tarot. And is that all? I think that's it. That's all in playing cards. So if you'd like to take a class from me, or if you'd like to get a reading from me, 779-302-8009 or conjurehope@gmail.com. And also, those of you who donated to these videos and you like these videos and you want to see them keep coming and you want me to keep sharing my knowledge about this, I really appreciate those of you who've donated. You have some wonderful donations and I really appreciate it. And if you want to donate, I'm going to put my PayPal and my Venmo below. If you want to know about more about the retreat that's coming up that I mentioned and about His Holiness, I'm going to put a link to a video in this in the thing below too that tells a little bit more about it. And wishing you success again and good fortune in all that you do. And remember, a little bit of knowledge is a dangerous thing.